Hey folks, welcome back. This is Joel, and in this video, we will continue with our discussion on SD-WAN. More specifically, we'll dig deeper into routing, right? So, in the previous video, we looked into the connected routes, we looked into the static routes, but in this one, we will look into some of the mainstream protocols, which is BGP and OSPF, right? Great. So, um, I think my topology was missing all the IP addresses, so I took some time to put in all the IP addresses today. So just to show you or just to explain, spend a minute over here. Um, Along the transport, internet, we have the ones highlighted in green, so it's going to be 1.1.0/24 in this section over here or this segment, right? Which is so it's going to be 1.1 over here towards the router, and I believe it's through at the edge it is 1.2 and over the ASA it is 1.3, right? So this segment 1.1.0.0/24 is basically the cloud segment over here, right? All my vmanage has it as .11, this is .12, .13, and my PC over here is .30, right? So that is this segment on the top. And for each of the internet transports along these edges, we are going to be using this subnet, right? It is .101 for this particular BR2 it is 102, and towards BR3 it is 103. Now in this particular video we'll actually start concentrating on the MPLS transport as well, right? We have not done anything much on the MPLS side, but we will start doing this, and these are the corresponding subnets for that sections as well. Now, before I start with today's discussion, let me tell you what I did in the meantime or since the previous video. Since the previous video, I have actually brought up my R2 and BR12, right? So these two nodes were discarded till now because it was not relevant to our discussions. But I spent some time to bring these up because from today, whatever we'll be discussing, or at least in this video, what we'll be discussing, we'll be concentrating on these nodes as well, right? Nothing very complicated to bring this up. We have already done the whole exercise on how to bring up the vEdges, so the same process was followed. The only interesting thing here is that let's talk about R2. For R2, you see there is no direct internet connectivity, right? So the traffic basically flows, or if R2 wants to reach out to the internet, we have a default route, right, from R2 to the MPLS, and on MPLS the traffic goes to switch 2, from switch 2 to ASA, and then to the internet, and that's how it is able to reach the internet. Similarly, for my BR12, what happens is there is no direct internet access, so the traffic gets backhauled to the headquarters like this, right, along the MPLS router, from MPLS to this particular router over here, and switch to ASA and then outside, right? So that's how it is able to reach the vmanage, vbond, and we were able to install all the certificates and all of that. So you can see here, um, so you can see of edges have increased to 6, right? Earlier it was probably 5. After adding, I think R2 I had already enabled before, but the total number of edges now in the network is 6. You can see control connections are up, the full WAN connectivity is there, everything looks good. There are 4 sites, right? Which is basically exactly what we intended to do, right? So that's what I've done. I've just brought this up and brought this up. Now let's look at the templates once, right? So we have been doing everything in templates. So I want to show you guys what we have achieved with respect to templates. I think in the earlier video we kind of so just to summarize on what we have done with templates, we have our feature templates, obviously, right? All the features which we have built or which we have enabled on the network, or first you build a feature template. So you'll see all the feature templates which I have used. I mean, majority of this I would have shown in the video, and probably there are a couple of them which I probably did it later. Like for example, these two I think probably I've not covered in the video, but they are again pretty much very simple. This particular template, MPLS template, was built basically to enable our MPLS interfaces, right? Like for example, the interface, this particular interface over here coming out of R2, and this particular interface coming out of BR1-2, right? So because these are MPLS interfaces, so I could not reuse any of the older templates, so I had to create another feature template for this. And what I've also done is the system IP which you see here, I wanted the system IP also to be a routable IP. So what I did is I went and took the system IP and put it inside the VPN 10, right, the service side VPN. So because of that, you'll see basically two new templates appearing here. One is the MPLS and one more is the VH loop backend. Now once I did that, if you look at the device templates, if you remember, since the first video when we started with the templates, we were using this particular template, right? Because most of our features, the 10 features which we started with, were common across all devices. But as and when we started enabling more and more features, right, we had to create individual templates, because there was not much support, or we could not kind of bundle all the features into one single template, right? Because depending on our design, right, our design basically tells me that one of the main difference, right? For example, if you look here, because this is the headquarters site and it is connected to just single transport, which is the internet, the interfaces are gigabit 0/0 and 0/1, right, in this fashion. But if you compare that with the dual transport over here, you see the gigabit 0/0 and 0/1 both are connected to the transport side, and 0/2 is connected to the service side. So because of such changes, as and when our design evolves, as and when we are adding more nodes, and probably what I've shown in this topology is just VH cloud, but if you're adding physical devices, if you're adding CHs, in that case, your templates will become more and more, the number of templates will increase, because it becomes very difficult to group everything into one single template, right? So as a result of that, you see we started with this, and we have reached a place where we have now 3 templates. Let me explain what is this. The single transport is for the R1, right, in the network, and the BR1-1, right, single transport. It's just connected to internet over here on the BR1 side, and also on the BR1-1. So only one single transport. So that's one template, and because it is connected to one single transport, most of the parameters, the interface names and all of that is going to be same. So that's why they are in one single template. Then we looked at the dual transport. Dual transport was mainly for BR2 and BR3, right? If you look here, the BR2 and BR3, they are almost the same, identical, right? They have the same kind of edge, transports, all the interface names, everything looks good. So we bundled these both, right? And now that I've created 2 more devices, which is R2 and BR1-2, what I had to do was I had to create one more template to accommodate that. And what I did was I basically ended up copying this single transport, duplicating it, and just changing or adding MPLS feature to it, right? Or basically editing the internet to MPLS, because this is also still a single transport, but it's just moved from internet to MPLS, right? Do you agree with me? Because if you look here, R2 and BR1-2, it is still single transport, right? There's only one interface coming out of it. It's still single transport, very similar to what is this BR1 and R1. But only difference is that here in the earlier case, in R1 or BR1, we had the internet transport. Here it is MPLS transport, right? So, when you create that, feature template, I had to basically, instead of using VH INET, I had to use VH MPLS, right? Just now what I showed you under the feature templates, I had to use it here. So that's why I had to create this new, right? So now all of this is good. We have 3 templates to accommodate 6 devices, but you will see that as and when we progress through this video, we will be ending up creating more and more device templates, because the feature commonality between devices goes on reducing as we evolve in the network, right? So I think that is something little, I would say still the templates are really helpful, because as and when you're adding more devices of the same type and same role in the network, you can reuse the templates. And also, if you look here, though we have 3 device templates, we are reusing a lot of the feature templates among them, right? So it's still helping you to make it very modular and all of that. So that's good about the templates, right? So let's start with today's stuff. What we are going to do today is that so we have something set up like this, right? We did the whole connected and static routes in the previous lecture, or in the previous video. Today we will do the BGP part. So what we are doing under BGP is that, to start with, I believe I am yet to add these interfaces. Let me use a different color, right? So this interface and this interface I'm yet to add, right? Which means I'm yet to add these IP addresses and these interfaces to these devices. So I'll have to do that. So let me just make a note of that. So add MPLS transport, right, for 2 and 3. So that's something which I have to add. But after we do that, we will have to do BGP. So where we are doing BGP is we are doing BGP over here. right, between uh, the branch 2, sorry, the BR1-2, then the branch 2 and BR3, right? So we'll have to enable BGP. So there is already BGP over here, right? And you see, this is not a VH, this is a my actual router. So I've already enabled BGP here. I'll show you the configurations later, but there is already BGP. I believe the it is 65,001, the AS number here. This AS number is 10, and this AS number is going to be something like 65. I think 101. This is 65,102, and this is 65,103. Right. So we're basically enabling BGP today using templates again. So that's basically something which we'll do. And once we're done with BGP, then what we'll do is we will, I mean, obviously we'll check if the routes are appearing. The BGP routes should appear on all my VHs, right? The routes from here should appear on BR2 and so on. So that's something which we'll test. But after that, we'll do OSPF. And what we are doing as part of OSPF is mainly over here, right? This section. We are not going to be enabling OSPF at other places. We'll just enable it over here, right? So in the previous video, if you remember, we put a static route, right, from R1 to switch like this. We put a static route saying, hey, if you get any traffic for 172.16.0.0, send it to the switch 2. So in this video, what we want to do is we want to remove that static route and rather put a OSPF protocol here between R1, R2, and switch 2, along which interfaces, along this interface and this interface, and obviously there will be SVI on the switch. Obviously we are not using this Ethernet 0, but anyway, we want to put a OSPF here. And why we want to put a OSPF? So that the switch also has connectivity to these sites, right, to these VLANs, right? Currently we don't have that. We have connectivity to these sites, especially this 172.17 from the R1, but we don't have it from the switch. So that's why we want to put a OSPF here, so that the routes are basically shared, redistributed, and all of that. So that switch also will be able to talk to it, right? So that's all we are going to be doing in this video. First, we'll start with adding MPLS, like I said, on 2 and 3, then BGP, then OSPF. All right. So let's do that. So let me go back to my. Give me a second. All right. So let's go back here and let's see what do we have. Yeah. So this is good. So in order to add the MPLS to that particular 2 and 3, we'll have to create a new feature template. Excuse me. Yeah, so we have to create a new feature template. So we'll basically go to feature, right? Because we can't use anything currently, because these two are going to be 0/1 interface. Can we use something? No, we can't use, right? Because you see, anywhere we can't use this interface either, because here it was 0/0, and here also, though it was MPLS, it was 0/0. So we'll have to create a new thing, because both of these interfaces are 0/1. So we'll have to create a new feature template to accommodate this, right? So let's add, and what we'll have to select VH Cloud. Let's go here, the VPN interface. Right. So let's call this as so this is going to be VH, obviously, and MPLS, but then it's going to be MPLS but for dual transport folks, right? We already have a VH MPLS for single transport folks, single transport devices, but when you have dual transport, this is going to be used, right? So so that's your MPLS, right? So let's copy this. And once we are done with that, let's scroll down and shut down. Let's remove this and make it no shutdown. The interface name is going to be what? If you look at the diagram, it's 0 gigabit 0/1. So let's do that, gigabit 0/1, and let's give a name for this. So we're going to say MPLS. I think this will be good, right? So that's good. Do we want anything else? So probably we'll have to go to IPv4 configuration. It's static. We will have to put in something specific, right? So that, so this is going to be VPN 0 again, but it's going to be MPLS. So let's say MPLS underscore interface address. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's good. We don't want a next stop because, like I was telling, we will basically be enabling BGP over there. So, I mean, if you have seen in the internet section, when we are enabling the internet transport, we are putting the default or the next stop, right, or default static route to the next stop. But now we don't want that because we'll be enabling BGP here. Let's go to the tunnel part, and we will have to enable the tunnel. Let's say enable. It will basically open up some. Select, yeah. So that's been enabled. The color. Now this is where, this is the whole reason why we are doing this, right? Change this to color, and the color is MPLS. Right, so till now we were using public internet, but now we are adding the MPLS transport. Right, the next is off. This all, we can retain it. Let's go down. What else? And let's go to global. Let's say on. That's on. The other part is the PMTU discovery is something which I want, right? Other than that, I think I'm good. So wait, yeah, that's it. BGP, for the BGP will be doing anything else. Okay. So advanced, I believe that will be in the advanced section. Remember, we had enabled the PMTU discovery in the previous one, so we're gonna do that here as well. Enabled. So I think that's good. Anything left? I believe that's good. So let's save this. So we have added a new this thing which is for MPLS dual, right? So we had earlier put in something for the VH MPLS. This was mainly, like I said, right? This was for the R2 and VR1-2, but since we have different interface names, we have to do this. Now quickly, let's go and add this to our template. So we already have the templates for the dual transport, so we're gonna edit them. So where would this go? Whatever the new interface we have added, it will basically go to the transport section. See, here we already have an internet, so we are basically gonna add another interface. So we already have a VPN interface, and this was mainly for the sub interface part, but we are going to add another, which is going to be the MPLS here. Sorry, not that one. We're going to add the MPLS dual and update it. Right, it's going to ask me to fill in something. So for BR2, what is going to be required is this IP address over here, which is from my diagram. It is 10.0.102.2 over here, right? It's on the edges, it is 2. So let's do that. Let's go back here. 10 dot, right, 10 dot 0 dot 102 dot 2 slash, I believe it is 30, right? So I think that's good. Yeah, let's save that, and let's do the same thing for the other side, which is for BR3 it is going to be 103, right? Just to change in 103, only that. Okay, so that's good. Now let's go hit the next button and configure devices, select, and okay, click OK. Right, while that's happening, I want to double check what I have on this MPLS router. Do I have it here? Yeah, just to see if I'm using the right subnet. Show run. That's okay. Show run is full. Yeah, so you can see here, these are the interfaces which are configured on the RMPLS router, right? 101.1, 102.1, and 103.1, and you have the /30 over here. So that's good. So let's get back here. Yep, this was successful. So which means I should be able to ping. Let's see if I have connectivity. So I have vbond, vsmart, r1, r2, switch 2 probably is not needed. Let's remove this. So I'll have to get all my routers here. So let's get this one. Let's open this one as well, and BR2, and the last one is BR3. All right. So what we did right now is on BR2 and BR3. So let's check if if it has come in. Right. So if I do show run VPN 0, so you should see that particular interface which we added just now. This is gigabit 0/2. This is 0/1. Here you go. Right. So we've added the MPLS interface, and we should be able to ping the default gateway here. Ping should be .1, right? We are able to ping. Similarly, we should be able to ping from BR3 as well. So let's go inside that. Right, so let's hit this, and instead of 102, we'll say 103. Sorry. Yep, that looks good. So what we have done till now works. We have connectivity, right, which is great. Now, what we'll do next is we basically let me just take a minute to show you the configuration, or maybe I'll show that later, the MPLS configuration or the BGP configuration on the RMPLS route. So let's start with creating the template for BGP, right? So we want BGP where? We want the BGP on BR1-2, BR2, and BR3, right? We don't want BGP here because it's already, we already have BGP configured and it's not even a SD-WAN router. So we have to configure on these three guys, right? Now the problem is we have a common template for these two folks, but we don't have a common template, So this is where, if you remember, we had a common template for R2 and BR1/2, right? So now we can't continue using that because we have to enable BGP only on this guy and not on R2, right? So this is where these two templates are going to break off, right? But we'll see that later. First, let's create a feature template for the BGP, right? So let's go to templates. Let's go to feature. Let's select the feature. Let's add the template, and let's say VH Cloud. Let's select BGP from here. Here you go. So once you select BGP, what we're going to say is, let's give a name for this. Let's go top. Yeah. So we're going to give a name, and we'll say VH underscore. This is for the MPLS, and we'll say BGP. Right. This is for the MPLS side and the transport, and it's for the BGP. Let's give the same description. That's all right. So coming down. So by default, it is no shutdown, so I don't want to change that. Let's retain it. AS number is device specific, so that's all right. What else? We will router ID and all of that is, let's keep it as is. Propagate AS path. So I would want to enable this. So let's go and enable this. There are a lot of features here. When you're free to go and check it out when you have time. IPv4 unicast address. Do I want something here? I won't be redistributing anything, so I don't want to check that out for now. The address family probably I'll have to add. There's the address family. So redistribute the maximum paths. I won't be using the maximum paths. Okay, so that's fine, I guess. Do I have an address family here? The network. And this is the aggregate, right? So, okay, so that's cool. I'm not advertising any network as of now, so I think that can be retained as is. Anything else I want to do? Let's scroll down to the neighbor. So I go down to the neighbor. I have to first create what we say an address. We'll have to basically let's think about this. So do we want a neighbor? Yes. So we have to add neighbor over here, and that's going to be device specific. So let's add a neighbor, and this is going to be the address is going to be obviously device specific. So I'm going to say BGP underscore VPN 0 underscore probably MPLS neighbor address, right? So that's good, right? So we have that, we have the address in place. Next is the description. I want to put in some kind of a global description saying that, you know, this is your MPLS key, probably. That looks good. The remote AS will always be AS10, right? Because from my diagram, like I talked earlier, right, for any of these edges, the peer is going to be AS10, right? We are basically forming BGP only with this guy, right? So, excuse me. So that's what we are doing now. So the remote AS number is always fixed. It's going to be 10. And yeah, so I think the address family, all of that, I can turn it off. No shutdown, so it's on, which is good. Remember to always click the, do we have any advanced options here? Let's check any advanced options. Let's scroll a bit down. So next stop self, maybe let's enable that. I mean, it's eBGP by default, it would do it, but still, let me just enable that. And yeah, so I think the rest of the stuff, I have nothing in mind to add here, I guess. All of this I'm going to retain, so I'm going to hit the add button here. Right, has this come? Yep, so you can see that neighbor has come here, which is good. Right, so that's it. I mean, I don't have anything else to add here, so let's scroll down and probably go and hit the save button. Right, so we have added a template for BGP, VH MPLS BGP. Now we gotta go down to my devices and we have to add this. So first what I'm gonna do is, like I talked earlier, right? So the problem is that I can no longer use the common template because then it would enable BGP on R2 as well, and I don't want that. So I'll have to divide this template, which was R2 and BR12. So I'll have to divide that. So let's go back here. Right, so I was using this one. So I will have to probably copy, and I'll say single transport MPLS, and this is mainly for BR1-2. Right, that's the right host. Yeah, BR1-2. So we are getting that template from there. So basically replicating it. Right, so we have it here, and let's edit it. We have to add some stuff, right? We have to add the BGP stuff. So let's go here and let's say edit. So where will the BGP part go? That would go in the transport and management VPN section, right? So here what we'll do is we have we have to add BGP. So here let's click on this plus BGP and let's enable the BGP template which we just now created. There you go. And let's say update. Right, so that's good. Now what we are going to do is we have to add or attach devices here. So we will attach the BR1-2 device here. Right, attach. So once that is done, it's going to ask me for some, you know, parameters to fill in. So let's do that. Edit. What do we have to fill? So we have to fill a couple of things. The AS number, it is going to be 65101 because it is AS, right? And the BGP VPN 0 MPLS neighbor address. The neighbor is 10.0.101.1, right? This one basically over here. So we are good with that, and let's say update. Next. Hope there is no error. Yeah, looks good. Let's say configure. It's already pushing it. Let's wait for a second for it to complete. Right, that's basically coming down here on this guy. Maybe I can. Is it already done? Yep, it's been successful. So let's see if any BGP stuff is there. So show probably IP. I think that's because this is don't know if this works. Show BGP summary. Okay, there is nothing yet. Show BGP neighbors probably. Okay, there is nothing yet which has come in. Probably it takes some time. So we have the configurations though. Right, so let's check if the BGP configuration has come in here. That's weird. Okay, are we doing? Okay, sorry, I was checking it on the wrong one. My bad. It is you're supposed to check on the VR1-2, right? So now show IP BGP. Sorry, let's do show BGP summary. There we go. So we have the neighborship with the MPLS router, and you can also check show BGP neighbor. Right, that's good. We have the neighborship also. Show BGP routes is the other command you can use. I really don't like this part where it doesn't show in a table. It's really weird. It shows individual, but anyway, looks like it has got the default route. So it has got two routes, right? I can see a default route which is coming from 101, and it has also received the route for 10.01.0, right? So basically, the routes which was advertised by this guy. So this guy is advertising two routes. This network 10.1. So maybe let me just add that as well. I think that's missing in the diagram. Let's duplicate this. So if this is supposed to be 10.1.1.0, right? And that's basically this section over here, right? So if you see now what's happening is we are basically getting this route, right? It's coming here, and we are also getting the we are also getting the default route as well, right? So that's what we saw. And what else do we have to say now? Okay, that's good. Now let's go and probably enable the same thing on the rest of the two routers which we have. So we'll have to go down to my templates again. So till now what we have done is we have just enabled it on this guy BR1-2. We're going to do the same thing on BR2 and BR3, right? So let's go here. So BR2 and BR3 are already in the same device template, so I can just attach it here. Let's edit it. Let's go to the transport and management here, right? So we will basically add BGP, and we will select whatever we created over there. Here you go, update. And once we are done with that, we'll have to put in the IP addresses. So this is for BR2. Let's add the IP for BR2. For the AS number is going to be 65102, and this is going to be 10. Okay, so it's going to be 102.1. My bad. Select this, and 102.1. So it's going to hit the update here. Same thing for the other guy. Let's scroll down. This is BR3, so it's 65103, and this is gonna be 103.1. Let's hit the update and click next. Let's check if configuration is good. Looks good, so let's configure. Click on this both, and there you go. So it's configuring now. Okay, so that's happening. Has it completed? Let's check it. Yep, so it's completed. So let's now check on my BR2 probably. Let's do show IP. Sorry, it's not IP. I get confused because this is a VH. Show BGP summary. There you go. I have the neighborship. Show BGP routes. There you go. I've received the routes, and BGP routes table VPN 0. So I've received the routes from that side. And what else? Show BGP neighbors. I also have the neighborship as well. Right? So that looks good. What else do you want to see here? Give me a second. All right. So, okay, so this is logged out. Give me a second. So we have pushed the BGP templates to all my devices, right? Now let's check if everything works good. So, but one thing which I'm seeing here is I was expecting to see more routes. I just have the routes coming in from this particular router. I have a feeling I have not completed the configuration on this MPLS router, so we'll check that for now first. Okay, so this looks good. Control connections, yeah. So I think we are yet to fix that. So let's do that. So let's go to my MPLS router, and if you see here, I have missed on advertising the route. So let me do that quickly. And you can probably take a screenshot of this configuration as well, because this is basically my MPLS, right? The MPLS cloud. So we go inside, we put in network, and we are going to enable what? We are going to enable the specific networks, which is 10.1. I mean this 1.4, 101, 102, and 103. Right? I think I missed out on doing that. So let's do that. We go to network 10.0.1.4. Your mask is here. 255, 255, 255, and 252, I guess. Okay, that's good. For the next one, it's going to be 10.101.0, I guess. Sorry. And for the next one, it's going to be 102. And the last one is 103. Right? So that's good. All right. So we have put in the network statements, under the BGP or my MPLS router. So now we should see more subnets here. Say probably on my BR1-2. Let's check here. Maybe my bad. So BGP routes. Right, so you can see here you are getting the default route and the 10.0.1. These two routes are basically coming in from this guy, right? So that's coming through here, and you will also see 1, 2, 3, 4 more routes appearing here, right? So you can see here 10.0.1.4 is here. You have 101, you have 102, and you have 103, right? So now you have all the BGP routes coming in, right? So we have actually, so we could check the same thing if you want on say BR2, excuse me, sorry, BGP summary and BGP routes. So you can see the 6 prefixes have been installed, right? So it says 6. Earlier it was 2, but now it is 6. And you can say 6 are visible here. Right, so that's basically what we wanted to do with BGP. Now let's move on to the OSPF part, right? So we have set up BGP here, and all the routers are able to see the BGP routes. We are not going to advertise anything in BGP behind the branches for now. We'll probably do that in later stages. But I just wanted to show you how to set up BGP over here, right? And that's pretty good. Now the OSPF. The OSPF is going to be set up, like I said, over here, right? If this is visible, yeah, here. I'm going to be setting up the OSPF here behind, R1, R2, and the switch 2. And let's see how we can do that. So let's go down here. So we'll have to create the OSPF template. Excuse me. Okay. So we go to feature. So we will go down to add OSPF. So we'll go to VH cloud. Right. We'll have to select the OSPF here. But I don't see EIGRP yet. Maybe there is going to be some future update where they're going to add in EIGRP as well, because after all, Cisco works a lot with EIGRP. So yeah. So let's see here. So we are gonna put in the feature template, and what is the name? Let's give some name for this feature template, right? So let's say vEdge, just like what we had. Okay. So let's say vEdge, and let's say OSPF, and this is only on the headquarters side, right? So this is only on the headquarters. So basically, let's say OSPF headquarters. We're trying to make it more intuitive, the names of the templates, so that when we have large templates later, it's going to be easier. The router ID is going to be device specific. Skip that, and the rest of the stuff is going to be as is here in the basic configuration. Let's scroll down. Redistributing. Yes, we are going to do redistributing, because if you see here, what's happening is we are probably going to have uh, so we'll have to redistribute the OMP routes and the connected routes, right? So you see R1 and R2, they have some OMP routes coming in from the other edges here, right? The 172.17 and all of that. So we have to redistribute that, right, into OSPF, so that switch 2 gets it. And there is also, we have set up these loop packs, right? Which I showed you earlier. We have this loop packs 172.16.0.11 and 12. So we want to redistribute that also in OSPF. We have set this up inside VPN 10, right? So we'll redistribute that. So that is why we would need redistribution. So let's click on redistribute here. We'll have to choose the protocol. One is the OMP, right? Let's say add, and let's add one more, which is going to be connected, and let's say add. So we have added that. Next is we will have to, let's not do the maximum metric part. Let's go to area. We want the area, so the area is always going to be 0, so we can make this global value. Area number, set the area type. Interface, right? We'll have to add an interface here. So let's say add an interface. Which interface? The interface name, right? So it's going to be the gigabit 0/0, the basically the sub interface, right? 1.10. So let's take the sub interface name as is from the router, otherwise probably it might give an error. So let's say admin show IP interface brief, Sorry. Zero zero slash one 0/2 0/3. Yeah, this one. So we are interested in this interface, the sub interface. So let's take that and let's go to my here, paste it here. So it's going to be the same in both the cases, right? So that's why we are putting in that. Do we want to do anything else here? Probably the advanced options. Let's go to the advanced options. So what I want to do is I also want to enable authentication for my OSPF, right? So under the authentication part, the first part is let's go and enable this to global value, and it's going to be message digest, right? So once I do that, it's going to give me an option to put in some parameters for the message digest. This is going to be one. I have configured the same thing on my switch side as well because there's OSPF over there. So it's going to be message digest one, and the password is going to be Cisco. So I put in Cisco over there, right? So let's add this. Don't forget to add this, otherwise it will not get added. So there you go. Now I think it looks good. So we've added that, and that is it. I mean, that's it from the OSPF side. I don't want to do anything else. So let's save this. So we've added a feature template for OSPF. Great. Now let's go to the devices. So now you see again, we will have to, if you remember, where is my R2 and R1 and R2, right? So I believe my R2 is part of single transport MPLS. So this one, R2 is belonging here. So this is my R2, right? So I'll have to add that OSPF here, and I'll have to add it to R1. So my R1 is over here, right? So now that's why we'll have to divide this template also now. So you see how the templates are getting divided, because I obviously don't have one single template where I can put the OSPF part, right? So let's first start by putting it to probably R1. Let's do R1. So we'll have to just copy this one, and let's explicitly call this as what, headquarters R1, right? Let's save this, right? So in my topology, if I see now R1, and this was DR1-1. So let me just put in the description here, otherwise it's going to be confusing later. So let's change this to um, edit. I want to change the description here to single transport DR1-1, right? So there you go. So we have a separate template for HQR1, and we have a separate template for BR1-1. See the number of templates, it has increased drastically. We have 6 devices, we already have 5 templates here, right? Which is kind of like, apart from these two having sharing a template, rest everyone seems to have their own templates. Anyway, so we'll start with headquarters, right? So let's go and attach a device here. Right, so we are basically going to attach the R1. Right, so and we'll have to probably put in any value. Do we have to put in the values? No, so it is going to do everything by default. Awesome. So we will go and okay, wait, did I make a mistake? I think I made a mistake. I did not attach the OSPF part to this device template, right? So we will have to go and do that. So let's edit it, and for the OSPF part we'll have to go to the service side VPN, because we are enabling it under service side. So let's go down. So under the service side VPN, we'll have to add OSPF, and under the OSPF, we'll have to select the OSPF headquarters update. I was wondering why I do not have to add any values. So yeah, that's the thing. So now let's go and attach the device. which is going to be my R1 here, attach. And once we have attached it, what do we do next? We have to put in some values probably. And what are the values we have to put? Let's go down. We have to just put our router ID. In the router ID, I'm going to just put in the system ID as is. Update. Next. Let's check if there is any errors. Nothing. Looks good. So configure devices. So R1 is getting configured right now. We will have to do the same thing on R2 as well. Let's see. Okay, it's successful. Let's go back to the templates. So now we have to do the same thing on R2. So see here, this is the template for R1. This is the template for BR1-2. Okay, and the single transport MPLS. So this was basically the template for my R2 and I believe single transport MPLS. Okay, this was it's already getting me confused because there's so many templates, right? So this is basically for my R, which is that? Let me look at the diagram. That's R2. Okay, so this was for R2, right? So this is for R2 and this is for BR2 and 3 and this is for, okay. So let me just rename it or let me edit it. Single transport MPLS, let's say, let's put in headquarters and R2, right? Great. So let's go to the service side and add in the OSPF part as well. There you go. Added update. Right. We'll have to probably put in the router ID here as well. So let's use this. System ID itself will act as router ID. And let's hit next. Let's check if there is any errors. No errors. Configure. Okay, it's proceeding. Meanwhile, let's check. We have already pushed it on R1. So let's see if we have show IP OSPF. Sorry, I think it's show OSPF neighbors. There you go. So I have OSPF neighbor. It's already formed the neighborship with R1 and with R2 and my switch. Right. So this is my switch and this is my R2. Right. So the OSPF configuration has gone in. Right. So that's good. What else? So let's check the routes. Show OSPF I think routes. Okay, so you can see the OSPF routes appearing here. I really don't like this particular. It should be a tabular way of displaying this. Otherwise, it's going to be too big, right? But anyway, you can see the routes here. Maybe I can do show OSPF summary. Is that a summary? Nope. Yeah, I think it's not there. Anyway, so here you can see the various routes. You have 172. 16.0.10, that's the loopback right of the switch. You're also seeing .12 and 1.0. I can see that all the connected routes of switch are visible here, right? There's a default route also coming in from the switch. And what else? You also see 16.0. So these are all your connected routes coming from the switch, right? So it's getting advertised here, which is good. Now let's see, and I believe it should be the same thing on my R2 as well. Let's check that. show OSPF neighbors. Yep, and show OSPF routes. Yep, the same thing. So let's see on the switch side what has happened on the switch. So let's open the switch. This one. Has the switch received all the routes, what we set out to do? So it's going to be show IP OSPF neighbors, right? I have the neighbors. Show IP route OSPF. There you go. So you can see all the OE2 routes are coming in here, right? All the OE2 routes are there. So this 172.17.1, this is basically from the other side, right? The branch routes are also visible. And you also see the 101, 102, 103, which is basically the loopbacks, and 111 as well. So they are there, and this is the connected routes, right? 11 and 12. So all the routes which you wanted, everything is visible here. Now, yeah, so that's good. Let's also see on the R1 side, if I want to see something like this, show IP route, VPN, this is going to be VPN 10 OSPF. Okay, this is better at least. You get to see all the routes, right? So all the routes are visible here as well, right? So all the routes are E2 routes though. If you see here, they're all E2 routes, right? Which is fine. Yeah, so they're all E2 routes, right? And you can see basically all the routes I'm getting it from the switch as OE2 routes. Okay. Now let's quickly check it on the BR1 as well, right? Because R1 is getting the routes from switch, so basically BR1 also should get the routes because of OMP. So let's check here on this show IP. It's not, yeah, show IP route. Okay, so I see some OMP routes, but I don't see the like for example dot 32 and stuff, right? The you can see here basically this was all earlier there, but I don't see the switch, the routes coming from the switch. I don't see the routes from the switch. Okay, so the reason is, we can fix that quickly. I think I know the reason. Okay, so the reason is that if you see on the switch side, or even if you see on probably here, right? So you have all this OSPF E2 routes, and they are visible on my R1 and R2, but they are not going across, the OMP to BR1, because we have to set a flag for that. And let's do that. So let's go down here. Let's go to my vmanage. It's good that we found that, because I can show you how to do this, and it's going to be very useful. So if you go to the templates now, let's go to the templates here. This is turning out to be a long video, so there's a lot to cover, right? So looking at the feature here, what we'll do is we have to look for which one? We'll have to look for the VPN 10 template, I believe. The VPN 10 template. Do we have a VPN 10? Yep, so this is the template. So here, devices attached, all the 6 devices. Okay, for all the 6 devices, we'll have to edit this. So if you go to edit here, you will basically find that we have probably not turned on the flag for enabling the OE2 routes to travel across the OMP, right? So we will go and do that. So let me show you. If I go down to OMP, yeah, here. See, you have the OSPF external routes. You just need to go and turn this on, right? Update this, right? Click on next, right? For everywhere, it's going to be the same thing. Will be applied to 6 devices, right? 6 devices attached to 5 different templates. So let's say yes, go and do this. Or if you want to quickly see where it's going to be put in, you can check that as well. Let's look at the diff. Should show some green color section probably, yeah, here. See, this particular line is going to be added to the devices. So let's go and click on OK. Right, it's pushing it now. Once the push has completed, my branch routers also should be able to see my should be able to see what? Should be able to see my routes from the switch. Right, so it's pushing it right now. I want it mainly to be done on R1 and R2 so that the rest of them doesn't even matter because we don't have any OE2 routes on them. Let's refresh. Taking a bit of time. Where are we? We are on VR1 right here. So we intend to see more routes after doing this, right? Especially for VPN 10, we are supposed to get more routes, something like we are supposed to get 16.32 and all of that, right? Basically the routes from the switch. Right? We intend to see these routes. Or maybe from here, right? So we have to see something like, especially we have to see the 16.32.0 and probably 16.16 and all of that, right? So which is not currently visible. Okay, so let's see if it is over. Yep, it's successful. Now let's refresh this. There you go. We can see them, right? So now you can see all the routes have come in, from the ones which were not visible earlier. They are now visible here, right? It was pretty simple trick. You have to enable the OE2 routes on the OMP. Now that we have done this, what I want to show you is can we do an end-to-end ping, right? Which means what I do is I'll go to this PC over here and I'll try to see if I have connectivity to where? To my other end, which is over here, which is say 172.16. Basically these loopbacks. Let's ping these loopbacks, right? So let's try to do that. So we are here on that particular device. Let's say ping 172.16.0.101. Which is that device? That is this device, right? Basically the loopback on VR1-1.1, right? So we are doing that. So here, there you go, it works, right? So the ping is basically going like this. It is going from the PC to the switch, and from there, it is going to where? R1 or R2. So if you look at the switch 2, if you look at the show IP route here, right, you have equal cost, right? So you have you can see here you have two routes, right, which are equal cost, because this is one is via I think this is via R2 and this is via R1, right? So you have equal cost. So it can either probably go like this or it can probably go like this, right? So and then it goes via the internet and it goes to the other side, right? So that's basically what's happening here. So we are able to connect to branch 1. Let's check branch 2. Yeah, the branch 2 works as well. Let's check branch 3. Yeah, that looks good. So we have a end-to-end connectivity from this, headquarters to the other side now, right? I think that's exactly what we set out to do. And yeah, so thanks a lot for watching, guys. And I'll probably be making more videos in future as well. That kind of completes a very important section in, I would say, SD-WAN. So we have brought up the whole controllers, we have brought up the whole edges, we have done routing, we have done static routing, connected routing, we have looked at BGP, we have looked at OSPF, right? We have done a very in-depth analysis of the routing. Probably the next sections will talk about, T-log, extensions and all of that, right? More fun stuff, right? Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.